All right, our keynote speaker is Mr. Billy Terry, and he is the Vice President, Northeast Region for Atkins Realis, if I'm saying that correctly, a large engineering firm. Billy has a tremendous background in public transit. Many of you may be familiar, may have heard him speak. He was most recently the director at NTI, the National Transit Institute, which does a lot of incredible training and leadership development. That's a focus for him and his colleagues when he was at NTI, and he's going to be bringing a little bit of that focus here in talking about strengthening your agency by building leaders. But his background at APTA, at WMATA, and just everything else, it's incredible. And we're so pleased that he has taken the time away to join us this morning, and I want everybody to welcome up Mr. Billy Terry. Thank you.
Where's the clicker? Is the clicker right there?
Yeah. It's the down button.
The down button.
Yeah.
Story of my life now. Hello. You good? Say it like a Michigander? What is it? Michigander? Okay. I'm a Pittsburgher, so don't hold it against me. I'm not going to preach, I promise. But I just want to say this first. First of all, I'm the most blessed person I know. That's number one. And number two, it is an absolute honor and privilege to be with you. I do not take that lightly. Don't take that lightly. For you to take your time to come here out of all of the work that you're doing, out of all the people that you're serving, to be here, and then for John and the team to ask me to come and help you kick off what's going to be a tremendous number of days for all of you. I don't take that lightly. I am so honored and so privileged. I want to say that. And second thing I want to say is thank you. Because if no one else tells you thank you for what you do, Billy Terry does. Thank you. There is someone on the other side of what you do. I'm not going to cry. I'm serious. There's a young person who's gone to community college because of the service that you run. That person may cure Parkinson's. I don't know. There is a woman who's working right now, taking one of your systems, who will get out of an abusive relationship because she's working, she's saving. I don't think that's far-fetched. There's someone who's gone to drug rehab, taking your system every day. I don't think that's far-fetched. So thank you. Cool? All right, let's get it. So I don't want to be overly theoretical here or academic, but I do want to have a conversation with you today about strengthening your agency by building your leaders. And I don't presume that you're already not doing that. So maybe I should have titled it, Continuing to Strengthen Your Agency by Continuing to Build Your Leaders. But I do. I want to have a conversation about something that I think is critical and is sometimes overlooked because typically we focus on the technical competency of those who work for us and with us. I want to make you a better accountant, a better planner, et cetera, et cetera. And all those things are absolutely critical. But I want to talk about some other leadership and managerial skills. Is that fair? All right, let's go. I'm Billy Terry. I'm just a Pittsburgh kid. That is really Pittsburgh. But if you're from Pittsburgh, you say Pittsburgh, right? Right. Love the Steelers. I have not buried a family member without a terrible towel in the casket. I am absolutely serious. If you go to a neonatal unit in Pittsburgh, it's not light blue or pink. They are all covered in terrible towels. Google it. I'm a closet introvert. Guess that. Tiffany laughing. My mother was an educator for 44 years. I think that speaks to some things about me, my love for learning. And again, as John said, an exciting career tapestry that I won't get into. But I got the better end of this deal, right? I'm the mentee, and I got the better end of that deal. A number of people who've made decisions to pour into me. So humble servant, that's what I do, right? I work for Atkins Realis. We're a world-class engineering and nuclear firm. About 37,000 people across 6 continents, about 5,000 in the United States. Yeah. Your typical large-scale engineering services firm. Consulting, design, program management, et cetera, et cetera. They sign my paycheck and I love them. But let's start by talking about this. Some agency stress points. It's not an exhaustive list. But Jim, I think you talked about it a little bit. Insufficient funding, age rolling stock, cutaways, right? Staff issues, and we love our staff. I'm not here to be negative about our staff, but that's a reality for many of us, right? A limited pool of qualified applicants, whether they be operators, technicians, mechanics, underskilled employees, hardworking, but sometimes underskilled, right? Low morale, unmotivated employees. You have none of those. Okay, my bad. Insufficient or dated administrative processes. It's like, what? To fill out a job application, I gotta do what? Clink, 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 clink. Like an abacus, right? External critique and pressures. You have none of those either, right? Pressures from customers, elected officials, other stakeholders, and what do they want? They want more service, better service, right? And it's not unfair for them to ask, but these are just some agency stress points. Any other stress points anybody experiencing?
I don't even know where to start.
Long list. And so I bring this up because in the few minutes we have to spend together, I am not selling snake oil. I do not have the cheat code for that. I don't. But I will submit to you, being true to the title, that there are some elements where you can strengthen your agency by building your leaders. Truth in lending. I'm gonna stick to that, and we'll see what you think. Okay. So let's break this up. Strengthening your agency. What do I mean by that? Again, I said I didn't want to be overly academic. I didn't want to be theoretical, psychological, right? So literally, what does Billy Terry mean when he says strengthening your agency? 2 things. Greater organizational efficiency and enhanced communication. That's going to be my definition of strengthening your agency, okay? And so when I say greater organizational efficiency, efficiency is doing something less time, less cost. I didn't want to put less effort, but Webster convinced me. Less effort and greater quality. That's what efficiency means. You do it quicker, faster, cheaper, less effort with greater quality compared to how you're currently doing it now, right? And so when I speak about greater organizational efficiency, I would submit to you that strengthening your agency means, the efficiency is referring to your internal administrative procedures and processes, and literally your widget, your service delivery, and the associated operations. That's what I mean by greater efficiency, okay? Second is enhanced communication. Quicker, communicating more quickly and with greater clarity, right? To whom? To your employees, to your vendors, your contractors, other operational administrative partners, and your riders and stakeholders. Now, these 2 elements of strengthening your agency, you'll notice I took an inside-out approach, right? There's something I believe about enhancing yourself internally being reflected externally. That's not to say that our riders, again, those are our customers. That's our first priority. But I believe that there's something about enhancing yourself internally that reflects itself externally. So when I say strengthening your agency, I'm talking about greater organizational efficiency and enhanced communications, okay? 1, 2. It's the other part. By building your leaders. Don't want to be overly academic. 3 points. For the purposes of our conversation today, building your leaders, I want to reference 3 things. Developing the emotional intelligence of your leaders, sharpening their communication skills, and this edict of encouraging leadership versus solely management. And let's have a quick conversation about the distinction between leadership and management. Both critically important, but some distinctions. So, strengthen your agency, greater efficiency, enhanced communications by building your leaders, developing your leaders' emotional intelligence, sharpening their communication skills, and encouraging leadership versus solely management. Cool? We good? Okay. Y'all was partying last night. I got this feeling here. All right. Developing emotional intelligence. Again, emotional intelligence. Let's demystify it. Emotional intelligence, the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions judiciously or fairly, and to build interpersonal relationships fairly and empathetically, right? Emotional intelligence is a capacity, right? Or the ability to manage both your own emotions and understand the emotions of the people around you. Emotional intelligence is an ability, right? Or lastly, an awareness and understanding of emotions of both yourself and others. So this concept of emotional intelligence can summarize it as a capacity that a person has, an ability that a person has, or awareness that a person has, right? Stop making it overly complicated, right? And, when we're talking about emotions, just super quick. This concept of emotions, super, super simple. There is no single definition on the word emotion. Did you know that? Psychologists, sociologists, they cannot agree on what an emotion is or what it means. So simply put, emotion is that immediate, philosophical, neural reaction to something. That's what it is, right? So when you wake up and it's Friday, you feel something. Like your mind doesn't immediately say it's Friday, you just feel something. Then in a minute you say, oh, I feel that way because it's Friday. When you see a father with a child on the edge of the pool saying jump, and that child jumps, that child is not processing, I trust my dad. There's just something that they see with their dad's arms out that says, I'm going to do it, right? Trust. Now, all emotions aren't bad, right? Anger, when somebody cuts you off and you say, right? Like your brain isn't like, I'm mad because this person cut me off. There's an immediate reaction. That's anger, right? Fair? All right, so 5 elements of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, motivation, social skills. 5 elements of it. Let's quickly go through it. John, is there somebody let me know on time here? 9:30. Okay. First element is self-awareness. The first element of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. The art of understanding your own emotions and how they influence and impact your interactions with others. So I understand what I say, what I do, how I act, that impacts other people, right? Particularly if I am a leader, right? Self-awareness is a conscious knowledge and understanding of your own character, your emotions, your motivations, your values, and your ability to identify your triggers. So if you walk into a meeting with someone you don't particularly care for, you say, this person here, let me get myself together before I walk into this meeting. You're able to identify your trigger. I would submit to you, self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It's the foundation. You understanding you. You understanding you. What you like, what you dislike, what presses your buttons, what ticks you off, what you love, you understanding you. Self-awareness, the foundation of emotional intelligence. Its first cousin, is self-regulation, right? So you got to be aware to regulate it, right? So the cousin of self-awareness is self-regulation, and that is simply the capacity to manage your behavior in different environments. It's one thing to watch my mouth when my mama ain't around, right? It's another thing when I'm on the playground or the basketball court to watch what I say, right? Self-regulation is the capacity of managing oneself well or appropriately by avoiding being taken over by your emotion. Remember, your emotion was that immediate reaction. And Many people call that an emotional hijack, right? And if you are emotionally hijacked, you are likely to make poor or rash decisions. But if you have self-regulation, you can say, let me watch my mouth. Or, oh, don't let me smack her, right? You're able to regulate. You're aware of it first, and then you regulate it. And more simply put, self-regulation is self-control, self-restraint. Fair? Two components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation. I think this is arguably one of the most important, particularly in a leader. It's empathy. Simply put, empathy is the capacity to empathize and appreciate another perspective. And we can easily identify those people who are not empathetic. Well, I think, well, where I come from, not empathetic. Don't have the capacity to think beyond their own experience, right? The capacity to comprehend and understand another's emotion, right? Or another's action. Yeah, John clocked in 4 times late this week. John just had twins. Just had twins. Sleep comes at a premium, right? Empathy. Empathy does not mean pushover. Doesn't. Particularly as a leader. Empathy does not mean the consistent allowance of negative behavior. It just doesn't. So when people conflate the two, you tell them, no, you're a pushover. Don't conflate that with empathy. Two totally different things. You can be empathetic and be a true leader and manager at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. Fair? Motivation meaning self-motivation, right? Critical element of an emotionally intelligent leader. Simply means I am able to self-generate initiative, internal drive. I'm resilient. What does resilient mean? Resilient means when I'm pushed back, knocked back, or knocked down, I have the capacity to get back up and proceed. Resilience means that I am not permanently damaged by a sit back, a knockdown, or a pushback. There are many, many wonderful brothers and sisters that we know who are not resilient, and they do not have the capacity, or it takes them years and years and years to become self-motivated after a setback. I submit to you, an emotionally intelligent leader is resilient, who has the capacity to move forward. Because we all know as leaders, what are the one thing that's constant as a leader? Continuous setbacks. Hey, Terrell, what's up, brother? All right. Optimism. Under self-motivation is this capacity. Many of us talked about it. John talked about it. The times that we live in. Nobody's faking that. That's not fictitious. The things that are happening now are real in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, all over the country. But an emotionally intelligent leader has the capacity to be optimistic. Not foolishly optimistic, not in an unreal fashion, but being optimistic about our capacity to continue to move forward despite of, right? Self-motivation means you are inspired by achievement and success. I want to just stay on there for 1 minute because there's a really fine line between the two. You can be inspired by achievement and success and motivated by achieving a goal, helping others. You can be inspired by achievement or success and be motivated by something else. Be puffed up, arrogance, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to make that distinction. Motivation, you have the capacity to generate initiative from within, despite what's around you. And the last one, social skills. An emotionally intelligent leader has mature or developed social skills, the ability to communicate effectively. That is so important. We're actually going to talk about that in and of itself, sharpening communication skills. Social skills mean the capacity to build sound relationships with colleagues, with peers, subordinates, those you report to, right? So build sound relationships with those who are here, and here, right? By working collaboratively, which means delegating authority sometimes. There's a fine line between micromanagement, and I don't trust you, right? Some people say you're micromanaging. You say, oh, micromanaging, because I really, that's another presentation. Maintaining an approachable posture, social skills. So if you walk in the door every day and someone says, good morning, what's up? Understand that impacts your leadership. That impacts whether or not people are going to approach you and how they're going to approach you. And it may be something critical they need to communicate. But you set the tone for the rest of the day because you weren't approachable, particularly as a leader. Another element of social skills is creating an environment that actively seeks, and welcomes feedback, respectable dissent, right? And new ideas. If you are a leader who's running a staff meeting and someone says, but did you think about this? That's the stupidest. You think that person's going to bring up an idea again? Right? No, we're not doing that. And you may not want to do that, but how did you communicate it? So social skills, mature social skills of an emotionally intelligent leader fosters people who want to give ideas, who want to respectfully dissent. They may have another perspective. And are you fostering that atmosphere for them to do that? Is that fair? So I would submit to you that emotionally intelligent leader, there are many, many benefits of those that they will lead. Increased team performance, because you're fostering an atmosphere where people are motivated. Decrease occupational stress. You are responsible for that. Year 2, when I was married, newlywed, new father, you do that math. My wife would tell me, you don't realize the impact that you have when you walk in the door. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, you bring everything through the door. Totally change the tenor in the house. Music go down, And I was like, wow, okay. As a leader, you impact the atmosphere. I would submit to you that an emotionally intelligent leader has the capacity to decrease occupational stress amongst your team. I believe there's improved decision-making from an emotionally intelligent leader, incorporating ideas, fostering people to communicate those ideas. Reduce staff turnover. What's the saying? People don't leave jobs, they leave leaders. Right? Increase personal well-being. You as a leader being responsible for your well-being, drawing boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. Increase leadership ability, right? So a number of benefits of an emotionally intelligent leader. Let me get through this quickly. So again, just to reiterate, emotionally ooh, is that? Okay, a little Cheech and Chong. Emotionally intelligent leaders consistently enhance the productivity and efficiency of the department, division, section, group that they lead, right? They arrive at sound decisions, again, reiterating some of this. Hello. They maximize job performance and the talent of their staff because people's opinions feel welcome and valued. They unleash leadership potential of certain staff. Oh, we're going to talk about leadership versus management in a second. And they create and maintain an atmosphere of less conflict by continuous team building. And I actually assert they would maintain a more cost-effective unit, right? By people giving maximum effort, people not calling off or calling out, all of the elements of emotionally intelligent leaders. So to go back what we started with, I'm communicating to you that if you have an emotionally intelligent leaders, that's one way to strengthen your agency. Let's pivot to sharpening communication skills, an element of social skills and emotional intelligence. I think this is absolutely critical. Who's with me? The capacity to communicate effectively. Very simply put, communication, the transmission or imparting of information. Now, the reality, I could say it's Friday. I've communicated with you. Walk away. I've communicated something to you, right? But typically, we talk about communication as an exchange, right? An exchange of thoughts, information, or news, right? I say something to you, you say something to me, I say something to you, you say something to me. Conversation. That's typically what we think of communication. Now, sometimes with my wife, it's the former. She's communicating something to me, and I am listening. 28 years of practice, right? But typically, we think of communication as the exchange of thought or information. Different types of communication, right? Oral communication. Not just our words, but how we say those words. Now, I believe it was the University of Manchester in 2023 in the UK estimates humans speak anywhere from 3,000 to 20,000 words a day. It's depending on a number of things. Are you working at home that day? Are you in an office? Men on the lower end of the spectrum? Women on the upper end of that spectrum? That's just what the University of Manchester research says. And probably rightfully so. I think women have more insightful and critical things to say than us guys, but I digress. But clearly, words are our predominant primary medium of communication, right? So think about our brothers and sisters who don't have the capacity to do that. Wow, what strong, wonderful, insightful people they must be to exist in this world and not be able to verbally communicate. Written. I think that's a lost art. What y'all think, right? Written communication. The second type of communication, we'll dive into that. And then nonverbal, which is arguably probably the most important. And our nonverbal communication refers to our body signals, right? Our eye contact, that's it. Right? Your eye contact, your facial expressions, your hand gestures. We got any Italian and Puerto Rican people in the house, right? They got that, right? The king of the queens of hand gestures, our posture. If I'm listening to you like, right? Or I'm listening to you like, right? Your posture, right? All elements of your nonverbal communication. You are saying something without words, right? And active listening is kind of like a hybrid between the two. Because active listening is verbal and nonverbal. Active listening is, as we're having a conversation, I'm like, wait. Explain that again. Or what did you mean by that? So there's a verbal element of active listening. There's a nonverbal element that deals with posture, because we could be having a conversation and I'm just, that's also a part of me active or maybe not so actively listening. All right, fair? Oral, written, nonverbal, active listening. Oral, again, they can be an individual conversation that I'm having. It could be a conversation with one person or with a group of people. And so think about the environment that we work in. Those conversations are staff meetings, things with our coworkers, agency partners, stakeholders, right? Just conversations, again, with an individual, with a group of people. It could be presentations, right? Training on presentation skills, et cetera, et cetera. Think about the context of the work that we do. Those presentations can be at a staff meeting, at a board meeting, could be at a community event, right? You could be at a conference, workshop, or panel, right? So all you wonderful people who are going to be presenting in sessions later on today and tomorrow. You could be at a city council hearing, testifying, right? Presenting, right? And a presentation could be formal or informal, right? Oral. Written. Now, email is probably the most predominant element of our written communication, right? So, and an email can be sent internally, externally. You could be sending it to a coworker. You could be sending it to MDOT. You could be sending it to FTA. You could be sending it to a contractor. You can have a written document for internal consumption. It could be a memo. Like, Like when you say the word memo, are you admitting you're AARP? Like as soon as you use the word memo, like literally, like okay, I'm sorry. A newsletter, an internal newsletter, a board report, right? It is a document for internal consumption, written, and a document for external consumption. It could be a report about the region, about your service, a newsletter for the community to, hey, what's up, man? I see you, man. Good to see you, brother. An infographic. We were just talking about infographics earlier, right? I love infographics. They are so concise. They're vibrant. They're visual. There's numbers, but not too many numbers. So you could have a document for internal consumption, external consumption, or email. They're predominant ways that for written communication. So what are the benefits of enhanced communication? Again, sharpening your communication skills, I submit to you, are a way to strengthen your agency. And so what are some of those benefits of enhanced communication, sharpened communication skills? A positive opinion of the speaker or the author. Now think about what we call a contrapositive, the opposite of that. Your agency puts out a report, or a representative of your agency speaks at a community event, and it doesn't go so well, right? A negative opinion of the speaker or the author. Key stakeholders are accurately informed, right? So whether you're presenting information or in a presentation or via a report, key decision makers have accurate information. Because most of what we deal with is people having inaccurate information about our agency, about our service, about our employees. Benefits of enhanced communication are the increased likelihood that key decision makers are persuaded. Think about it. A report to your board, a presentation to community. If your agency has a need for additional resources, legislation that's getting ready to come down the pipe that's going to benefit your agency or harm your agency. You want to persuade them to pass that legislation or not to pass that legislation. Board approval of a contract or a project, that hinges on the quality of the communication that you present to that stakeholder or that decision maker. And there's also increased likelihood that staff or community will buy in to a program, project, or initiative. So if you're a leader and there's a new process in your agency and you have to go communicate as an HR representative, here's our new suite of benefits, or here's a new process for signing up for those benefits. Any HR people here in the room? Right. How you communicate what that new process is going to directly impact the buy-in. Are they going to complain about it? Are they not going to complain about it? That's going to depend on how you communicate that new process, right? Go back to what we started. I submit that you can strengthen your agency by developing the emotional intelligence of your leaders, sharpening their communication skills, and and encouraging leadership versus management. Get ahead of myself, right? So developing emotional intelligence, sharpening communication skills. And I just don't want to just tell you this and just drop the mic. I believe there are a number of great training sources and resources to help you, to assist you, to develop the emotional intelligence of your leaders and their communication skills. The first thing I'll say, look within. And I know everybody don't run a super duper big bad agency like Tiffany. It's smart, huge agency, right? And there are limited resources at our agency. But I was talking to someone and we were talking about presentation skills. It was from a large agency, and she was like, I don't want to pay that consultant. She had a person who was a leader in is it the Kiwanis Club? What's the one with speakers? Kiwanis Club? Toastmasters. Toastmasters, right? Was a leader in Toastmasters. And start doing quarterly presentation skills to her colleagues. Look within. I'm not saying just a panacea, like you got all these people walking around your agency, you have the capacity to do training, but I would encourage you, think about it. Look within. Secondly, local college or university faculty and staff. there a professor in the sociology department who knows way more about emotional intelligence than Billy Terry? Is there someone in the English department who can give you a lunch and learn on writing more efficiently, right? Or you go to any community college, you go to any four-year university, one of the first classes you take in your first 2 semesters is a communications 101, right? Where you're talking about how to do what? Public speaking 101. That professor might do a 45-hour presentation for your C-suites for $1,000, $1,500, maybe for free. So your local college and university faculty and staff, your national and regional organizations, APTA, WTS, CompTO, state associations, right? Get some of this training and conference workshop and sessions. National Transit Institute, my former employer. Great session, a great class that they have called Pathways to Effective Management and Supervision, PIMS, right? Used to do a class at NTI, I don't know if they're still doing it, called Business Writing. WRITEITRIGHT. Business writing, write it right? About writing more efficiently. The Association for Talent and Development, wonderful organization. They actually have a vendor directory. It's free to get on it. And again, I am not suggesting that you go hire some $50,000 a session consultant, but what I am saying is that there are resources out there, and the ATD vendor directory has consultants from across the country who do training in person in emotional intelligence and presentation skills. And it's free to access that directory, the ATD vendor directory. And then there's a tremendous number of online courses. And don't get me wrong, I don't think online courses are a panacea, but as my grandmother used to say, something's better than nothing, right? And so I think that there are some online courses that span the range from a 45-minute course to a multi-day course specifically on developing emotionally intelligent leaders and sharpening presentation skills, right? Just want to, what time? 5 minutes, okay. So let's wrap up with this. Leadership versus management. And it's not leadership versus management in a combative way. I believe that they're 2 different things. I would submit to you, let's start with the manager or one who engages in management. A manager is task-oriented. That's not bad. Manager is focused on the task at hand. If I have to get 5 buses out the short every day, that's my task. The manager is focused on the objective at hand. That's what I got to do. That's what I'm supposed to do. How can I get it done? The manager processes or thinks in an immediate view. Again, the immediate task. And a manager typically delights in subordinates following. And there are some instances and places where that's absolutely necessary. I need you to do that. I need you to do this. I need you to do that, right? And a manager promotes and advocates for subordinates completing tasks efficiently. I don't want you to worry about nothing else except helping me get these buses out the yard. That's it. That's a manager. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying those are the characteristics of a manager, focusing on the immediate task at hand. I would submit to you that a leader is a bit different. A leader is vision-oriented. Vision-oriented. What is your name?
Debbie.
Debbie? Debbie, if you have a vision, where is it?
Where's my vision?
Yeah.
Mostly in my brain, but a lot in my heart.
Right. Can other people see it?
No.
Okay. So if a manager is focused on something that you can see, it's tangible, that's the task. A leader has something that often others can't see, don't even know about unless you communicate it, because the vision is here, and where else did you say it? Is here, right? A leader is future focus. The manager was focused on the task at hand. Right now, what do I have to do? The leader is focused on how I'm going to do that task 6 months from now. How I'm going to do that task a year from now. A leader thinks beyond the moment and the immediate task. I believe that a leader processes in a 360 and multi-plane view. What does that mean? Here's a task. What are the things that are impacting me to do that task? They could be here, they could be here, they could be here, they could be here. Isn't it funny when somebody says, oh, I have a 180-degree view? You be like, sis, we need to talk about you. Right? 360-degree view, multi-plane. What's happening up here? What's happening down there? How is that impacting my capacity to do this task right here? I believe that's what a leader does. A leader delights in subordinates learning and inquiring. Not just do that, do that, do that. A leader wants you to ask questions. We talked about respectable dissent, fostering an atmosphere to ask questions, right? And a leader promotes assumption of expanded. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I had to figure out what I wrote. A leader actually wants his or her subordinates to take on expanded roles and tasks, to inspire growth in those working for him or her. I would submit to you, a leader is next level management. A leader is not just focusing on the task, it's how I'm going to do that task again in the future. What if these series of events take place to impact my ability to do that task? And sometimes we're doing a task and we think that it's efficient, but could it be more efficient? We visited the Ford House in Detroit, and it was amazing to see not only Henry Ford, but Enzo Ford, his first son, advancing on some of the techniques in the factory. So it's just, nobody wants to be BlackBerry, right? We were great, but we didn't think about the future, and we were irrelevant in the next 5 minutes. So I would submit to you, leadership is next level management. Peter Drucker says this: management is doing things right, leadership is doing right things. So if we dive into that just for 30 seconds, I had an employee who worked at NTI with me. She had a map, and we were figuring out where we're going to take the different procurement courses. And she had stickies all over the place. And it worked for her. But I always asked her, isn't there a better way to do that? It works for me. I would say a manager does something that works at the moment. A leader says, how could we do this better? I'll stick to my hypothesis. You can strengthen your agency by strengthening your leaders. And the management versus leadership element, I'll end with this. Managers, people who are doing a task, they're often currently overseeing projects and programs birthed from a leader's vision, right? Effectively operating organizations identify, train, promote, and value both managers and leaders. And the last thing I'll say, this notion of doing management lead avenue. If you have a planner, that person comes out of undergrad and they doing long-range plans or service planning, and he or her does a great job in planning. Then that person does a good job and they get elevated to managing planning or other planners. But then ultimately we want them to lead planners. That progression. I'll stick to what we said. I believe you can strengthen your agency, have greater organizational efficiency, better communication internally, externally, by building your leaders, by developing their emotional intelligence, sharpening their communication skills, and encouraging leadership versus solely management. And encouraging leadership versus solely management has to be top down. That has to be an executive directive. So those are these three things. I'm Billy Terry, my mama's only and favorite son.